Hey everyone, Joe Bianchino here live from beautiful Saratoga, back with another weekend preview. This time joined by the MIG, Richard Migliori, a familiar face around Saratoga jockey, 4,500 career wins, and a face, you see him everywhere. HRTV, MSG Plus, MSG, Naira, he's everywhere.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say a face only a mother could love.
No, look at that, it's beautiful. And we want to talk, obviously, another weekend preview, and it's all about the Hall of Fame this weekend. Hall of Fame induction ceremony going on Friday morning, and congratulations, I imagine, from both of us to everyone getting in this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, very deserving class. I found it interesting that Steve Asmussen and Todd Pletcher, this is for both of them the first horse they've ever had inducted in the Hall of Fame. As many champions and really good horses they've trained, but I'm sure the first of many, and probably on the backs of those horses, the two of them will ride into the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Eventually, both of their times will come eventually. And we look we look to Saturday for the 4-star Dave. That's the first big stakes of the Saturday-Sunday card we're going to look at. And we'll get into who's in the field in a second. I want to, though, touch on who isn't in the field. And that's Wise Dan, 2-time reigning horse of the year, won the race last year, obviously still recovering from colic surgery. What does it mean to you to have him out for this race, and where do you think we'll see him again?
But to be honest with you, I was going to be surprised if he made this race. I know that they were optimistic and they brought him here and he's been training, but anytime a horse has surgery, it's like people. It affects horses and people differently, and some take a little longer to get over it. It really wasn't a lot of time between the surgery and the 4-star Dave. Hopefully we'll see him in the Bernard Baruch. But I think one thing for sure, Charlie Lopresti is going to do what's right by his horse, and the horse is going to tell him when he's ready to run. I will say he looks good in the mornings. I don't see him training with the same enthusiasm I've seen him train in the past, at least not yet. And that's not to say it won't come back, but he's doing everything well. He's just not doing it with that same kind of desire or zest.
It's interesting. I mean, he's post-surgery, he's getting up in age even for a gelding, so
sure.
We'll see. I mean, I would love to see him again. The Bernard Baruch is the logical spot for him if he's ready for it. There was talk that maybe we'd see him in the Woodward, and that would be amazing to see him drop in against Palace Malice and against Will Take Charge and Moreno. I think they're going to look for the easier spot for him, though.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him in the Woodward just because of the way things went. I think they would have taken a shot and done that. And make no mistake, he's a very good horse on synthetic, very good horse on dirt. He's a great horse on grass.
He's a super horse and one who's just a joy to watch. So without him, we move on to the actual field of the 4-star Dave. And on the morning line, it's about, right now, Silvermax, the Dale Romans horse. Robbie Alvarado's in the irons, 9-5 on the morning line. And look, he's a speed horse. That's what he wants to do.
And he's got post 1, so he's going to have to flaunt that speed. The problem is there's other speed in this race.
Yes.
And a horse like Sayad can make it very difficult on a horse like Silvermax. And I've never seen Silvermax be effective rating off of even one horse. His best go is when he uses his speed. Sayad might just be a little faster, and frankly, Sayad can be rank. So even if the rider wanted to rate him, I don't think the horse is going to cooperate, and it could set it up for a horse to come from behind.
Yeah, as Silvermax won the Grade 2 Firecracker last out, but he had that easy lead. I mean, he had an uncontested lead, and it was quick, but it was uncontested. He's not going to get that here, and I think you're right. I think the pace is going to be a little quick, and I'm looking at the 2 horse just to his outside, Seek Again. It's a Bill Mott horse. He gets Joel Rosario. He's 3-1 on the morning line, but this is a horse who 2 starts ago challenged Wise Dan, and last time out did a lot of the dirty work running down a leader who got out to a ridiculous lead. He did a lot of the dirty work and stayed up for 3rd in the Manhattan. I like him in this race.
Yeah, I like him as well. I think you and I are thinking along the same lines. I think it's going to set up for Seek Again or Jack Milton, but getting back to Seek Again, I think the turnback's going to intensify his late kick. He's got some very good races in Europe, 7 furlongs in a mile. You can actually go back and watch some of them on YouTube. And I really think that this race could play into his hands. And I love horses on the turnback because I just think they finish that much stronger.
Yeah, I think this could be a big race for him. And maybe, I mean, it's 3-1. It's not a big price, but it's longer than 2 of the other horses in the race. So maybe he's one to look at. On Sunday, we get to one of my favorite days in the entire Saratoga meet. The Adirondack and the Saratoga Special, the 2-year-old, the babies, stepping out, maybe trying to see if there's some Kentucky Derby, maybe some Oaks class in this field. And these are the sprints, the 2-year-old 6.5 furlong sprints, my favorite day.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this meet has been very strong with 2-year-olds debuting, a lot of really impressive maiden breakers. And we've got some horses coming back off of some very impressive performances like Angela Renee in the Adirondack. I think she's a quality filly that's actually only going to get better as the distances stretch out. And then the New York bred filly of Leah Giamardi's. What's her name again? I know you got it written down.
Wonder Gal.
Wonder Gal.
And look, she's it for me. I like Angela Renee. I mean, anytime Todd Pletcher and Johnny V combine to start a 2-year-old filly in a sprint at Saratoga, your money needs to go there.
Sure.
But at the same time, I look at what Wonder Gal did in her debut at Belmont. She made one of the most dramatic, jaw-dropping moves around the far turn, and I question the class of that race with her, but visually, inspiring performance.
Well, I agree with you. Visually, it was very impressive. She's a very good filly. I love the job Leah Giamardi's doing for Jeff Treadway, and they're picking out very good horses, evidenced, by all the success they're having. And you can't penalize a horse for beating what they have to beat.
Right.
And when a horse wins off by a large margin in shorter races, it says a lot about what they're doing because they have less time to put that distance between them and the field. But she's going to have to step up and show me that against open company now. So I agree with you. I like her.
Right.
But she's going to have to kind of win me over completely.
Right. This is a step up for her. And you look at Angela Renee, and there's just one other horse, Take Charge Brandy, who ran very impressive in the Schuylerville, lost to Fashion Alert, who's a very good horse, and dueled down the stretch with that horse. So look out for maybe even Take Charge Brandy as well.
Yeah, and I like that too, but I wonder sometimes when they have those really hard races, that kind of duel, does it make a young horse go forward or will she regress a little bit? That's the question.
So those are the three we're kind of looking at there. And the last one we'll get on to is the Saratoga Special. And for this, to me, it's kind of about a rematch of an earlier race we had, the Sanford, excuse me. Another sprint, and we get 3 horses out of that race: Cinco Charlie, Mr. Z, and Nona's Boy, the final being a Todd Pletcher horse. So again, just keep your eyes. A Todd Pletcher, 2-year-old in a sprint at Saratoga. But for me, I look at Cinco Charlie, very impressive on the front of that race. Didn't win, but what was very impressive for a horse on some tough fractions starting out, and Mr. Z for me coming from behind in that race.
Yeah, they both had legitimate excuses in the Sanford. Obviously, Mr. Z had all kinds of trouble. Excuse me, in behind horses, had to bull his way out. It was basically, to me, like a dress rehearsal for next year's Kentucky Derby because it was that roughly run.
Right.
And Big Trouble, the winner of that race, who he was in a bumping match with, isn't returning here. He's actually subsequently injured. We'll see him probably either later in the year or next year. And Cinco Charlie, he did all the dirty work.
Right.
He was in the fight every step of the way. Actually got passed by Nona's Boy, fought back to finish third. You got to think with a little different setup, he's going to be tough. But I'll also give Nona's Boy some excuse there. Because when Mr. Z tried to move inside of him, it kind of forced Johnny Velasquez to move early. He middle moved into the hottest part of that pace, and he might have flattened out a little. Now, he was coming off of one race, and I got to think that Cinco Charlie had more foundation. He had 2 races, and it counts a lot with these young horses. Maybe now Nona's Boy, because he won so easily first time out, knows what it's like to be in a fight, and maybe he'll move forward from it.
So, I mean, to me, I ranked him Cinco Charlie, Mr. Z, or I'm sorry, Mr. Z, Cinco Charlie, Nona's Boy. But maybe, I mean, I think that's a situation. You box all of them. It could be any of them, or it could be some others. Majestic Affair. For Chad Brown in that race was incredibly impressive in his debut at a park I've never heard of before, Canterbury Park. So you don't. It's not racing against stellar competition, but just another visually impressive horse.
But they must have liked something about him because they went there to buy him. He obviously had run a fast enough figure. But again, it's a class factor. These horses, he's going to have to show, just like Wonder Gal, and step up and fight it off with the little bit tougher set.
Exactly. So that's your Saratoga weekend preview. My name is Joe Bianchino alongside Richard Migliori. You can find him on Twitter at Richard Migliori. You can also find him Saratoga Insider, 7 o'clock each night on MSG Plus. At Joe_1045, at 1045 the team on Twitter. And this whole Saratoga coverage has been brought to you by the Factory Outlets of Lake George. Get your back to school shopping done at the Factory Outlets of Lake George. Visit factoryoutletoflakegeorge.com. Mig, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Good luck, everybody.